right. Hi, parents. This is for you. And teenagers, if you're watching this as well, you might get some insight into how your parents might start thinking now if they watch this. It's pretty simple. It's brutal raising teenagers. They get to that point where they know everything, and in a sense, you become public enemy number one in various ways because you're clamping down on their freedoms. And somewhere around age 9, 10, 10 years old, they start to think that they know better than you do, and it gradually progresses to where, it can be hostile. But parents, just so that you know, in my 20 years of experience in working with the dance studio that I've owned and operated for 20 years, I've seen every age group, just about every dynamic among parents and teenagers from the time the kids are a week old and the younger sibling of an older sister who is dancing in the studio, right on up through great-grandmothers. And I've talked with so many moms about their frustrations with their daughters, with their sons, and here's what I've observed and what I've come to understand. When you're talking with your teenager, you're talking to somebody who's 25 years old. And that's kind of the mindset that might help you get through the teen years, because what you're giving to them are wisdom grenades. They don't go off right away. They go off much later. And you may not ever enjoy the benefits of all that you're teaching your child, but eventually you typically do. But it is astounding how much like their parents the kids eventually become, or how many of the lessons that you've implanted in them against their will that later in life they adopt. And the communists had an expression years ago that was to the effect of, give us your children until they're 5 years old, because after that, it won't matter. And as frightening as that may sound, all that speaks to is the fact that so much of your child's personality is formed prior to age 5. And in fact, not just child psychologists, but I believe neurologists and so forth are shrinking that age gap and saying it at a much younger age. But the nature and nurture debate could go on, and you're going to continue giving your child instruction as you must, but just keep in mind that as frustrating as it seems when they're teens and they seem to be going off they're on the wrong path. In some cases they may be, but by and large, if they're, doing most of the things that they're supposed to, like go to school, go to work, part-time job, whatever it may be, and they're, for the most part, getting decent grades, they're gonna way more often than not, abide by or adopt the things that you taught them when they were younger. Yeah, it's just that simple. And so there's hope. And there are so many anecdotes, one of which I'll give you was one of our dancers who, when she was a teenager, her father had dropped her off at the studio, and she was furious with her father. I mean, furious. And she's sort of, because I'm like a second dad to a lot of the dancers, sometimes they would just unload on me. Not at me, but all that they're thinking, feeling, and whatever. Boom, they would just let it out when they got in the studio. And she was furious with her father, and she was saying things like, I swear everybody thinks he's so nice, but he's not, and I didn't clean up my room or something, the usual stuff that parents and kids will fight over. And she just uncorked on him, basically. And it was funny because about 5 years later, when she was in college, 6 years later, I was talking with her, and I ran into her at a dance performance, or she stopped into the studio to say hi or whatever. And she was complaining to me that her roommate did not observe the order in the refrigerator that roommates were supposed to observe. And I just smiled, and I just said, she's become her father's daughter. So there are many more anecdotes like this. But anyway, there you go. I mean, it's frustrating, and a parent's job appears to be love your children, believe in your children, pay for your children, and get the benefits later. So there you go. That's the news. But you will get the benefits later. So keep giving them those lessons. And you can even back off the throttle once in a while. You know, you can. Let them develop into their own people. You don't have to constantly apply pressure. So anyhow, I hope it goes well and that my words ring true. Okay.